Okay, let's get into this. If you play Blox Fruits competitively, you know the feeling. The ground is just constantly shifting.
Yeah, the meta never, ever sits still. It's always being hammered and reshaped. Sometimes it's big updates.
Right, the ones everyone sees coming. But then there's the other stuff, like despite those background issues, those fast
Oh,
flags.
yeah, the fast flags. That's actually fascinating how the community just has to adapt on the fly.
Explain those a bit for listeners who might not be deep in the weeds. What are they?
Right, so fast flags are basically these temporary, often unannounced server tweaks. The devs use them for, like, quick tests or maybe quiet adjustments.
But the impact is huge, right?
Totally. It can lead to these unpredictable changes in how abilities work. Suddenly, your build might not function the same way, and players have to scramble to re-optimize, like, immediately.
So you're in a competitive scene where, yeah, even the basic rules can kind of change without warning. So our mission today, let's map this out. Let's figure out this rapid evolution. We want to pinpoint the builds that really define the different eras.
And trace what caused the big shifts.
Yeah, the catalysts. And maybe most importantly, figure out what core things, what items or strategies form the competitive backbone right now.
Basically, the shortcuts, right? How to get up to speed on the top tier without grinding nonstop.
Exactly that. Give people the inside track.
Okay, well, to understand where we are now, we definitely need to look back at where the standard sort of began.
Right. Let's jump to that baseline. Before all the mobility chaos really took over, for quite a while there was one setup that was just king.
Oh, yeah.
What defined that dominant loadout? We're talking update 17.3 era, right?
That was undoubtedly the era of Dough. If you were serious about PvP back in 17.3, the expectation was simple. You ran Dough Fruit.
Just dough.
Well, Dough Fruit paired almost universally with Cursed Dual Katana, CDK, and the fighting style was God-Human. That was the core.
Okay, that's the list. But why? What was the magic in that specific combo? What made it so dominant?
Synergy, really. It was about control and just being incredibly hard to kill. Dough itself gives you that amazing high-damage, sticky area control.
Right, hard to escape.
Almost impossible once you were caught in a good Dough combo.
Yeah.
Then you look at the other pieces. God-Human wasn't just raw damage, though it had that. It was chosen specifically because its abilities gave you great mobility options, stuns, massive combo potential, basically ensuring your opponent couldn't easily fight back.
Ah, okay. So dough traps them, God-Human keeps the pressure on, and finishes the combo.
Precisely. And CDK, Cursed Dual Katana, that brought the huge burst damage and those quick dashes. It was the perfect closer.
Makes sense.
And then, yeah, players usually rounded it out with Soul Guitar or maybe Kabucha for reliable range pressure or, energy regen.
And the sources we looked at really emphasize this wasn't just a good build.
No. It was the standard competitive template. Full stop.
And you really couldn't avoid it. It was everywhere. The source material says you basically couldn't jump into a server without bumping into a domain within like 5 minutes.
Huh. Yeah, that sounds about right. They were just trying to lock you down.
So it established this kind of slower, heavier, control-based meta. That was what dominance looked like then.
And that prevalence is key. It shows what meta dominance meant initially.
Yeah.
It was about the best mix of big damage, lockdown control, and just raw resilience. If a fruit did that best, it won.
Okay. But we know things changed drastically. And interestingly, the biggest shifts often come from, well, not just a new powerful weapon, right? Sometimes it's a change in mechanics. What was the catalyst that shifted things away from just pure control and damage?
That absolutely has to be the door rework. Honestly, probably the single most impactful meta shift in the game's competitive history.
The door fruit, really?
Well, this completely transformed it. The old door fruit, which was mostly just for basic travel, they turned it into the portal fruit.
Okay, door becomes portal. Sounds technical, but what did that actually do to the gameplay? How did that change combat?
It completely shifted the focus. Suddenly, everything was about instantaneous mobility and positioning. Door was, well, predictable. You opened a door, you went through. Portal is instant. It's versatile. It lets you break line of sight immediately, dodge those long-casting moves, and crucially, it created what the sources called ridiculous sword synergy.
Okay, hang on. I need to push back a bit there. You're saying a utility fruit, a mobility fruit, ends up dethroning a powerhouse like Dough. Why did Portal suddenly make swords so good that it changed everything?
It's a fair question. Swords always had the potential for high burst damage, right? But their weakness was always getting into melee range.
Especially against something like Dough that could control space.
Exactly. Before Portal, closing that gap against a Dough user was tough, predictable. Portal just changed the whole geometry of the fight. You could use its instant travel to completely bypass defensive setups, teleport right onto someone who thought they were safe, unleash a massive sword combo,
And then zip out again.
and then instantly disengage or reposition. Yeah, it nullified the opponent's positioning advantage.
Ah, okay. So it wasn't that swords got buffed directly, it was that Portal made them way more effective by solving their main problem, getting in close safely and quickly.
You got it. And the big picture outcome. The high mobility sword main meta just took over, like almost overnight.
Wow.
And this one change, just reworking a mobility fruit, set a whole new precedent. It proved that high mobility and smart synergy could absolutely beat raw power and traditional control. Speed became the ultimate advantage.
Okay, that shift really sets the stage for where we are now. Portal established mobility as key, but now we got to talk about the fruit that currently defines the absolute top tier for fruit mains, Kitsune.
Oh, Kitsune. Yeah.
When that arrived, the sources were clear. This wasn't just another strong mythical fruit. It felt like it reset the scale entirely.
It really did. Kitsune became the golden standard for fruit mains almost instantly.
Yeah.
And the reason is its incredible versatility. It's just multifaceted. Well, usually a fruit has trade-offs, right? Yeah. Good at this, bad at that. Kitsune, it basically has none. It excels everywhere. Grinding levels, great. Farming raids, super efficient. And PvP, dominant. High damage, high utility.
The comparison one source used really stuck out. They said Kitsune felt limitless. They even compared it to, like, Satoru Gojo from Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yeah, that's some serious hyperbole.
Yeah.
But it kind of captures the feeling. It speaks volumes about its perceived power ceiling and just overall capability.
What makes it feel that way in practice?
It's got fantastic movement options, massive self-sustain through healing, and combos that are relatively easy to pull off but incredibly hard to counter. It just combines power and utility at the highest level we've seen.
So, okay, for someone listening right now who wants the absolute top-tier loadout, the build that defines the current meta, what is it?
Right now, the primary build, the one you see most at the top, revolves around Sanguine Art fighting style, Kitsune Fruit, the Yama Sword, and Soul Guitar accessory.
Okay, break that down. Why Sanguine? Why Yama and Soul Guitar with Kitsune?
Sanguine is huge because of its sustain. High lifesteal means you can recover health really fast, even while fighting. It synergizes perfectly with Kitsune's already good survivability.
Makes sense. Keep you in the fight longer.
Exactly. Then Yama, the sword, it's not just damage. It offers great utility for setting up combos, breaking defenses, stuff like that. It enables Kitsune's attacks.
And Soul Guitar.
Soul Guitar gives you reliable long-range chip damage, plus utility like pulling opponents or managing energy. It complements Kitsune's primarily mid-to-close range focus.
Interesting. Is that set in stone, though? Or is there flexibility?
Oh, definitely flexible. And this is key to Kitsune's strength. You can swap Sanguine out for Electric Claw, for instance. E-Claw gives you better close-range crowd control. And guess what? The build still maintains that undisputed top-tier status, that ability to kind of plug and play different fighting styles without losing effectiveness. That's a big part of why Kitsune has lasted.
Right, that adaptability. It seems like that guaranteed multifunctional utility is really the dividing line, isn't it, between the true meta shapers and the fruits that are strong for a bit but then fade.
Precisely. We have to acknowledge other mythicals had their moment, right?
Yeah.
Gravity, T-Rex, even Blizzard. They were incredibly powerful when they first dropped.
Yeah, I remember the hype around T-Rex.
Huge hype. But they all kind of suffered from the same issue. They were too specialized. They did one thing really, really well, but lacked that broad, long-term versatility.
So their reigns were short-lived.
Exactly. They couldn't keep up through multiple updates, through those random fast flag changes, the way Kitsune or even Do and Portal, in their own ways, have managed to stay relevant.
Okay, so that brings up a really crucial point about Kitsune and Portal. Their adaptability, their longevity. Why do they seem to defy power creep when others fade? It almost sounds like raw gear level isn't the most important factor anymore.
This is probably the most important insight we found regarding strategy versus just raw gear. The data showed something kind of insane about Kitsune and Portal's adaptability.
What's that?
Players proved you can run genuinely competitive builds using only first C items and fighting styles. Basic stuff. As long as you pair them with either Kitsune or Portal. And these builds can consistently beat opponents who are decked out in full high-end 3rd C gear.
Wait, really? First C gear beating 3rd C gear just because of the fruit? That sounds almost unbelievable. Was there pushback on that? Like maybe it was just exceptionally skilled players.
That's a great point, and yes, skill is always a factor. A better player usually wins, period. But the conclusion wasn't just about skill. It was that Kitsune and Portal significantly lowered the skill floor needed to make that older, simpler gear work effectively against top-tier stuff.
How so?
If you have the immense utility and safety net of Kitsune, or the insane positioning advantage of Portal, you don't necessarily need the extra raw stats from the absolute best third C gear to win fights. The fruit makes up the difference.
Wow. So the takeaway for listeners is actually huge. You don't have to grind for hundreds of hours for the very latest gear if you master one of these two strategic fruits.
Pretty much. It shows that strategy, mobility, utility, understanding synergy, that can genuinely trump just grinding for the highest possible stats.
It really is the ultimate proof that synergy matters.
Well,
Knowing the mechanics, pairing things smartly is more powerful than just stacking the newest, shiniest items.
demonstrably, yeah.
Okay, so let's recap what we've unpacked here. The Blox Fruits meta, always evolving, but right now it seems built on three core pillars. You've got Kitsune and Portal forming that strategic backbone. High synergy, super adaptable, letting players win even without maxed out gear.
Yep, they're the core strategy elements. And then, of course, you still have Dough. It just isn't going anywhere.
The old reliable.
It's the classic high-damage, high-control build players always seem to come back to. It's lurking in every server, refusing to be completely pushed out. The resilient veteran of the meta.
Right, so those are the foundations. But, as we said at the start, this stuff never stops changing. Power creep is inevitable. New fruits, new weapons, they will shake things up again.
The evolution isn't over. Players will keep pushing the boundaries.
So thinking about that history,
Yeah.
how strategic synergy and mobility, with Portal, managed to overcome the raw power standard of Dough back in 17.3,
Yeah.
it makes you wonder, what's next? What new mechanic, or maybe what kind of new fruit, could actually redefine competitive play again?
And crucially, how would it challenge Kitsune? Which right now feels almost unbeatable because it does everything so well, that limitless standard.
Exactly. Think about it. Kitsune excels because it's so versatile and has such high uptime. So will the next big thing be like a fruit focused entirely on maybe instant, unblockable one-shot potential? Just bypass the utility game.
Or maybe a totally new movement mechanic, something that makes even Portal's instant travel feel slow or predictable somehow.
Yeah. Who knows? That's definitely something for you, the listener, to think about until the next big update inevitably drops and reshuffles the deck all over again.